Now, a new lawsuit is revealing the type of people that Donald Trump owes his presidency to. Now, I'm specifically referring to Trump's biggest donors in the campaign. This would be the Mercers, Rebecca and Robert Mercer. You might not know a lot about them because they intentionally try to stay hidden, try to stay quiet about their involvement, but they're actually very much involved in the Trump presidency, especially in who Donald Trump has picked to be in his cabinet. Now, Robert Mercer is co-executive of Renaissance Technologies, and what's been revealed in this lawsuit is that he allegedly has some incredibly racist views. You going to be surprised at this, Ron? Now,
No.
Good answer. According to a lawsuit brought by a former employee, Mercer had once said, among many other things, that I'm going to detail them, I'm going to list them, that black Americans are the only racist people remaining in the United States. See, it's not the white people that are the racists. No, it's the black people. They're the only racist people left. This is according to Robert Mercer. Now, this is from Raw Story. Mercer, who alongside his daughter, Rebecca Mercer, had fought to install Chief White House strategist Steve Bannon as counselor to the president and Kellyanne Conway in the Trump administration. Now, they Mercer allegedly made a series of racist comments in a conversation with this former employee with the last name of Magerman. Now, according to the complaint filed by this former employee, Mercer allegedly told him that the U.S. began to go in the wrong direction after the passage of the Civil Rights Act. Oh, wrong direction. How dare we give African Americans equal civil rights? That's when it all went downhill. Are you sure are you sure? Is that your final answer, buddy? Is that what you believe? That's insane. Not only that, but he says that black people were doing just fine before civil rights, and that, again, black people, if you didn't catch it before, black people are the only racist people left in the United States. They're the real racists. Oh. Now, he also said that the Civil Rights Act infantilized African Americans by making them dependent on the government and removing their incentives to work. So there's the lazy black person trope. And then white people have no racial animus towards African Americans anymore. And if there is any sort of racism that's going on in America, well, it's not something that anybody should be concerned of. Now, Magerman was stunned by these comments and decided to push back, hence this lawsuit. Now, after that, he went to the press, of course. Well, the reason that he was fired is that he went to the press and said, this is all that stuff that Mercer had said. This is some deeply racist shit. And I'm going to, I feel like I have an obligation to go to the press with this stuff. And after that, he was supposedly fired. In response, Magerman is suing Mercer for that wrongful termination and like $150,000. So not some obscene amount, but it is a decent amount of money. There's no doubt. Now, I don't care so much about the lawsuit, really. But holy shit, dude, that guy is a super racist. If this is true, and I do believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem, well, hold on. The problem here that I'm going to say is that this guy's got Trump's ear. And he's got him by the balls because he just gave him all that money, millions and millions of dollars, somewhere around $12 to $13 million for his campaign. So this is who Trump owes. This is who owns Trump.
Right. I mean, and that's probably the biggest problem with what's going on right now. Trump, well, first of all, sticking to this guy, yes, he is a racist, horrific so. Not only is he a racist, but he's a very tone-deaf one. And I'm not saying that there's like there's different categories of racism, and one is worse than the other, or better than. I mean, they're all absolutely appalling in every sense of the word. But there's some people that are racist, and they're like, yeah, I just straight up, I hate people that are a different skin color than me or a different race. I don't view them as equals. Whatever, I'm a racist. There's other people that are completely tone deaf to history and have this insane world perspective that they need to do bizarre mental gymnastics to come to that conclusion.
Yep.
and it's to the point where they actually buy into their own ignorance. I'm not saying, I mean, all racists are ignorant. That kind of, they go hand in hand. But some, they're just be like, well, fuck the civil rights movement because it gave more rights to black people, and that, we don't need that, and blah blah blah, because I'm a racist. Other people, it's like, well, that actually hurt the community, and it's like the mental gymnastics you have to do to reach that point. I mean, it's the same, the people that'll tell you that abortion isn't a woman's rights issue, that there's never been sexism in the workplace, that, like, everybody has a level playing field now. And it's just this tone-deaf blinders,
right, but they also...
that you usually see typically from white men in America. And so this guy is not only just a straight-up racist, he is a very, very tone-deaf racist. And he has the ear of a person that's in a very powerful position, that's also incredibly impressionable. Trump is a 5-year-old. I mean, he's basically, he has no ideology. He has no perspective. I mean, if the right person got in his ear about single-payer health care or something for that, which he knows that that's a better way to go. He proved it when he was talking to Australia.
Yep.
They would sell him on it. As long as they'll be like, hey, man, we'll name it after you. And it's a single-payer system. Healthcare shouldn't be a political issue. They'd sell him on it. And we still wouldn't get it, but like they would sell him on it because he has no perspective. He has no ideas. He's just influenced by people that are nice to him and have his ear, like you said. And because he's this disconnected billionaire that's never had to work for anything in his life, the people that have his ear are other corrupt rich people. So that's why he is what he is, and he's a sociopath megalomaniac that decided to run for president. Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous. I do think Trump is a racist, yeah. But I think it's because he was kind of molded as such. He doesn't really know anything else.
Yeah,
he's never been exposed to anything else. I mean, his own father did discriminatory housing practices. He was just raised that that's the way you're supposed to be. So he's just, I mean, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for the guy. I'm not like, I mean, he's 70 years old. That's you have enough life experience. You should know better. But he's never been outside of his ivory bubble. So yeah, this is an impressionable dude. So whenever there's somebody like that who is has horrifically racist views, and has the a tone deaf level that is unsurmountable, that has an element of concern, because of just such an impressionable 5-year-old that has his hand on the nuclear codes.
Can I talk about the bullshit feedback loop for a second? Like you mentioned, the women who are like anti-abortion, or the women who make or it doesn't even have to be women, just some of the arguments against abortion, where it's like, no, abortion is bad because it hurts the woman, so I'm going to make a decision for her, right? I'm going to make a decision for the better. Oh, black people, well, it was better off when we were in charge. See, I'm just looking out for them. So I think that's an example of the bullshit feedback loop, because you say that, and that argument comes back, and it makes you feel like, no, I'm trying to help them. I'm doing what's better for them, because they obviously don't know what's good for themselves. That's your racist bullshit feedback loop right there, in action. And a lot of these people, like this guy, the Mercer guy, he definitely is in that feedback loop. So he's like, no, I think blacks had it better before civil rights, and we just kind of ruined it for them because they're lazy and shiftless. So what does that make me a racist? No, I'm just trying to help them. It's that whole thing. But let me give you another piece of information about what Mercer believes. Right now, his take on nuclear meltdowns, according to this former employee, his stance on it kind of disturbing. He suggests that nuclear meltdowns not so much of a big deal. Tell that to Fukushima. Just saying.
Well, he wasn't there, Jeff, so he doesn't know or care. I mean, again, this goes back to his totally tone deaf perspective. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a horrific catastrophe caused by nuclear weapons, or whether it's people that have a different skin color than him and faced a lot of racism because of it over the years. he has no, he has no ability to kind of empathize. He has no ability to kind of frame a world perspective to the best of his ability. And, because we all have blinders to some degree. I mean, that's
Sure.
certainly true. I mean, we're all, limited by our own experiences and our own perspective. And, a lot of us try to do the best we can and learn from others, learn from our community. But other people really try to put the filters on and don't want to do that or see it as something bad. And that's the category this guy falls into. So of
Right.
course, like none of that stuff is bad. Drone strikes, that's no big deal. I mean, his family's never been affected by one.
Yeah, and look, doing some research and reading about this guy, he is one of those very awkward, reclusive type of people who was into, I believe he was into coding. So, and not to say anything bad against people who code, obviously, but because I have a lot of friends who like to code. And I actually took a programming class, so I understand what that's like. You either love coding or you hate it. But this guy was one of the who was the whole point is he was set like he was cut off from everything. So you're right. He doesn't really understand what's going on, or he doesn't really care what's going on. He's tone deaf, and he's very very old fashioned racist. But I think
Yeah, old fashioned is
yeah.
kind of tying it up and putting a bow on it.
Sure.
He's a disconnected racist, is what he is.
Yeah. But okay. Anyway, you're right. Now I don't think that his racism though is the reason that he donated to Trump. Because remember, he donated to Ted Cruz as well. He just wanted somebody in there who would cut his taxes, and I think that's really what it's really all about. Although Rebecca, I did a story before. Rebecca wanted to make sure that Steve Bannon stayed in the White House. Now you know the views of Steve Bannon, right? I mean, all you have to do is just look at Breitbart. I mean, they have a section in there with specifically black crime, as if black crime is worse than any other kind of crime. No, crime is crime. But of course, they do it to highlight and to push a racist agenda. Now, if you want to find out how racist Bannon is, I would just look up Camp of the Saints. Are you familiar with that story, Ron?
No.
The Camp of the Saints?
I am not.
This is something
No.
that Bannon literally believes is happening today. And to summarize it real quick, it's a story like written. There was a French author that wrote this book. It's a fiction book about the so-called immigrant invasion of the West. Where, I mean, it was labeled one of the most racist books in history. And that's how bad it was. Like, I don't really want to go into the details of it, but just I would, look up Camp of the Saints and Bannon, and he believes that this is happening or is going to happen now, and that basically the white people are the only ones who can stop it. If the protagonist of the story is someone who goes and murders poor brown people. Just to put that in perspective. It is a bizarre, it is a racist, it is a disgusting book. And it's a disgusting ideology to have. So, and that's incredibly disturbing. And what's more disturbing is, again, they have the president's ear, as you mentioned. And what they want to do is that they basically tell this stuff and put it into Donald Trump's empty head that this is the way to go. And that's why you see things like Muslim ban and, a Mexican wall or all sorts of shit. So it's, again, there is a deep racism problem in this country, and that needs to be addressed. And I'm not sure how to address people like that, or beliefs like that. But I guess there's one good thing that we can come from it, and it's, I think that is dying.
Well, I mean, I think that it's also been there's been a bit of a resurgence. I mean, and I've said this before on the show, and this is kind of like the way I see what's going on right now. If you are a racist, you are inherently a cowardly person. That's just, I mean, that's a fact. I mean, your entire ideology is based on your fear of people that are different than you.
Right.
That's cowardly. So if you are a racist, you are a coward. End of story. I don't care, how many white supremacy tattoos you have or whatever, you're a coward. And you need a figurehead to empower you. Well, now they have their figurehead to empower them. They have Donald Trump in the White House. So a lot of racists are empowered and they're being loud again instead of just staying in whatever basement they came from and going on whatever message boards actually welcome them and their fringe idiot views. They're kind of out in the world at large a little more so now, and that's definitely a problem. But hopefully the response to all that in the long run of things is going to be even stronger, and these types of ideas are going to die out. And what's really sad, I've had this discussion, the younger generation, like kids today, a lot of them, and granted racism is still something that's being passed down, by no means is it, but I would make the argument that the younger generation does not understand racism the same way any other generation has, because to a lot of those kids, especially ones that were raised right, it doesn't make sense to them. They don't understand it because they grew up around diversity. They only know a black president, so it doesn't even make sense to them. They don't understand it because, again, racism is something that's learned. It's not something you're born with. It's not something that you learn it. You learn, and I remember the first time I heard the N-word. I didn't know what it was. It was explained to me what it was. You learn that stuff. You're not born with it. And you hope that you're taught the right way. I mean, I was taught that was wrong. When I heard that word, I asked my parents, and they said that's something you never say. And I was raised right, but so it's something that can be learned and can be unlearned too. To quote American History X, a very, very brilliant film on the subject. But I think that we are in a point where it's been empowered in the short run, but I do think in the long run we're probably, hopefully we're going to go in an even better direction because people are going to realize, okay, this is something that's messed up about our society, and we can't keep passively accepting certain things because there's cyclical effects of it. Mm-hmm. We can't say Donald Trump has some controversial views about race and said some controversial things. No, Donald Trump said racist shit because he is a racist. If we had a media that was worth anything, that wasn't just a compromised corporate shill, they would call him a racist. Because in other countries, politicians that have those views are labeled as such. They're labeled anti-Semites, they're labeled racist, and deservedly so. Here in the United States, we try to tie it up and put a bow on it because our media is for profit and is focused on access. So hopefully that will start to slowly change when they see what happens when it doesn't change. We've passively accepted a lot of bullshit for a long time, and now we're seeing some symptoms of that bigger disease. Trump is a symptom of a bigger disease. The racists that he has empowered, the racists that have his ear, they are a symptom of that symptom, which again is a symptom of a much bigger disease. It's a symptom of the disease of materialism, of the disease of money and politics, of the disease of a broken democratic structure, the disease of a for-profit compromised media that needs to go and is slowly sinking like the Titanic. It's a symptom of all that stuff.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.